Okay, so I've watched the first arc of the new Monogatari season, the Off and Monster season, which is Nadeko. And before I started, I actually wanted to show off the Monogatari merch that I do have. I just checking real quick. I don't think I have any Monogatari prints. No, I don't. I have three figures. If you've noticed, two of them are Majuka Maguka related. This is Monoka, but she is specifically wearing Senjo Gahara's dress, and there's a matching Senjo Gahara figure as well. This Homura, which I believe of all the figures I have, I think technically a Nendoroid is my first, but this is the first like figure from my collection, and of course it's from Madoka, but again wearing Senjo Gahara's outfit. And this and another outfit swap is Shinobu, though this is technically. Oh yeah, I was like, what the fuck is her name? Oh, it's here. It says Kiss Shot. It doesn't have the whole name. Fuck, what is it? It's the hot. What is it? The hot blooded, cold blooded. I think something else. Blooded vampire. Acerola, Kiss Shot, Heart Under Blade. It's some shit, but it's Shinobu as Devil Homura, and then there's a Homura dressed up as Shinobu, which I don't have, but actually would be kind of sick. But I wanted to show him off a bit, put him in the background. Why not? But actually getting into this arc. I know I've done a video on Monogatari before when I binged it a couple years ago. The short version is I absolutely loved it. I don't think that every arc is created equal. There are some that I think are fine. There's a lot, though, that I think are absolutely magnificent, especially once you get into season 2. No, I do have a Monogatari print. It's actually the one right there next to Beatrice. I didn't even see it at first. I was like, I was about to talk about Ogi, and I'm like, wait, no, I do have one. And I've got this, like, Ogi. I don't think it's actually a display, because I don't think I got it from display, but it's a little metal poster of Ogi, because she's my favorite character. But it's a series I like a lot. I think there's a lot of artistry in it. I think it's very beautiful. It's a show where, as much as I like what's going on in the foreground, I also just love watching the backgrounds and just the weird way that scenes are blocked. And I'll go ahead and be honest, I don't think I enjoyed the backgrounds quite as much during the Nadeko arc, but I feel like the rest of it, for me personally, was so good and so interesting that I wanted to go ahead and make a video on it. I haven't started the new arc, the the Bon Appetit arc. I'm probably just gonna let it go, and then once I know that it's done, go ahead and binge it. Excuse me. I don't want to guarantee that I'll make a video on it. I wasn't going into this planning on, like, I gotta do a video on it. I was like, hey, I really liked this arc. I want to talk about it. If I feel something similar after Bon Appetit, I will do the same thing. If not, then I don't know. We'll see. So I want to talk about just the basic plot and setup to this arc before I go into it. No, that is how I'm going into it. I'm just saying I want to start that first. There we go. That's what I meant to say. So, our basic plot is Nadeko is not going to school. Instead, she's staying at home, focusing on her manga, which is something that was, I don't remember what the name of the arc was. It was like Hitagi something, even though she was barely in the arc. I just refer to it as the Kaiki arc because he is the main character of it, and it's one of my favorites. And it's him exorcising Nadeko, or more exorcising the snake god from Nadeko at the end of season 2. And his trump card is revealing that she likes drawing manga, and she's actually a very creative person, and she gets really embarrassed about it. Now she is not going to school, which is also related to that because she had that huge blow up at her classmates. But she's staying and focusing on her manga and trying to get better. However, her parents end up giving her an ultimatum, like, hey, if you're not going to school, then you need to get a job. I think it was at the end of the year. I don't remember exactly where they are in the year. But, excuse me, it's like by the end of the year, you need to be working. And so she's like, okay, I don't want to go to school because I've got issues. I don't want to go to work because I just want to write, I want to draw, I want to be creative. But I've tried to get a following. Like, I've posted stuff online, and I don't get the best reviews. Like, they're not super mean, but it's not like, man, I'm great at this. And I've sent it into publications and to contests, but I haven't been accepted. I haven't won anything. And I just want to be able to do this and be successful. I've heard the rule of 10,000 hours. Like, to get good at a skill, drawing, writing, Fortnite, you've got to put in 10,000 hours. But with, like, the amount of average time that a person has, actually putting in those 10,000 hours is really, really difficult. And I don't have that much time. Like, I cannot do that over the course of a year. I don't know what the hell I'm gonna do. So, in the previous, it wasn't even a previous arc, it was the previous episode that started the season, I believe her name is Ononoki. I just refer to her as Orange Mint. But Orange Mint went to Nadeko to get some help with some shit that she was doing. Found out that Nadeko has the ability where she can draw something and that thing can come to life. In that arc, she was supposed to draw a slug, so Orange Mint could be a magical girl and fight a giant slug. It makes sense in context. It makes enough sense in context, but she drew it so well that it was actually really hard for her to kill. It's like, I appreciate, like, your artistry and everything, but because you made it so good, you actually made it a really hard fight. Thanks, but hey, you got potential. You got cool stuff you can do. So, because of that ability, and they do actually end up becoming friends, Orange Mint gives her a suggestion. Okay. 10,000 hours. Now, don't get me wrong. I think this is a pretty stupid, terrible idea, but I'm gonna give it to you anyways because you want me to be honest. You don't have time for 10,000 hours. But if you made familiars and made them you could do some amount of hours, she could do some amount of hours, she could do some amount of... most mangaka have, teams and assistants anyways. So not only are you spreading the 10,000 hours amongst yourselves, you're also getting experience working with a team, and you can have your own assistants. I'm not saying this is a good idea. Because when you start doing shit with magic and spirits, you never know what bullshit's gonna happen. But I think this is probably your best play. So, that is what happens. Nadeko creates 4 familiars, and each one represents a past version of herself. We've got Nadeko with the hat and the bangs covering her eyes from her first arc when she was cursed. We've got the flirty Nadeko, who... I think this is the version of her from Nisei, when she was like, I really like Araragi and I am going out of my way for him. We get the wrathful Nadeko, who blew up at her classmates, and then we get straight up Snake God Nadeko. And almost as soon as they all get created, it's like, okay, so I made you all, and we're gonna work on art together, and isn't it gonna be great? They all just fucking leave. And so now that her familiars, her Shikigami, have gone out of control, she's like, I have to go grab them, I have to go get them back. And that's the basic plot, as a basic setup. I feel like I should go ahead and say now, there will be full spoilers for this arc. I got full spoilers for the show as well. I've already kind of referenced and spoiled some previous arcs. I'll make sure to put that in the description, that there'll be full spoilers for the Monogatari series up to this point. By the arc's end, she is able to wrangle up all of her past selves, trap them in paper, because that's how they do it. It's like, all right, well, if they came from paper, if you put them in paper, you'll be able to put them back. Sure, I can buy that. And after all of her interactions with them, she's able to appreciate her growth as a character throughout the series. You know, like, this is the person, these are the people that I was. And I'm none of them anymore, but I'm also all of them at the same time. Like, you know that song by Rascal Flatts? I don't know if it's an original by Rascal Flatts or if it's like a cover, because I think What Hurts the Most, which is another big song by them, is also a cover. And of course, they have a cover of Life is a Highway, which is not the original song. But anyways, God bless the broken road. You know, every long lost dream led me to where you are, and others who broke my hearts. They were like northern stars pointing me on my way into your loving arms. This much I know is true, that God bless the broken road that led me straight to you. This is her broken road, just seeing like all the shit in her life. But it's brought her to where she is now. And she can appreciate her own growth. And I really liked that. I should probably go ahead and say she is one of my favorite characters in the show. I thought her first arc was fine. It was okay. Her more assertive behavior in Nisei, I wasn't crazy about. But her next arc, I don't remember what it's called, but I refer to it as the Muso Express arc because that was the opening, which, by the way, Muso Express is my favorite opening in Monogatari because it's so creepy and unsettling. Like, it is a yandere's theme, and I love it. It's so good. That was the arc that made me go, wait a second, I think I really like this character. And her being the main antagonist of the Kaiki arc and how that's resolved, like, yeah, she's one of my favorites. She's not my number one. That's Ogi over here. And Ogi is also in this arc. And every time Ogi is on screen, he steals the show. He's fantastic. There's this one bit. I have a bit at the end of this where I'm just like, here's just some of like the neat shit from the season or things that made me laugh. There's this one when Nadeko, pretty sure she's talking to Orange Mint about how Ogi has been helping. It's like, yeah, Ogi's been chasing another one of me all around town. You know, I hope he's successful. And then it cuts to Ogi on a kiddie ride, just not giving a shit. And I was laughing so hard. I was like, I need a gif of this. This is a perfect gift for just like no thoughts, head empty. It's like, man, I gotta do so much shit today. Me doing absolutely nothing. Like, it was fantastic. I loved it. But those were, yeah, again, that's like the basic plot. And then by the end, wrangling everybody, assesses her broken road, and Orange Mint tells her that Izuko is probably going to reach out to her for some help in, like, spirit shit, monster hunting. Not necessarily for her drawing ability, although that could come in handy, but mostly the fact that she was able to stay calm under pressure when shit was going bad. Not only was she able to make a plan, but she stepped the fuck up and was willing to put herself in harm's way. So you're like, no. That's the kind of thing that, like, my, what does she call her? I don't think she was the creator. Was she the creator? Because she had, like, multiple creators. Because I remember that's a thing. Because in her first couple appearances, she has a catchphrase where she'll be like, I said with a posed look. And then she does that, I think, around Kaiki. And then Kaiki gets really mad. Or she also does the, yay. And then Kaiki just glares at her. She's like, okay, you don't like it when I do this. So I guess I can't be this character. But hinting that Nadeko is at least Nadeko is probably gonna have a job to appease her parents. This is the job she's going to have. So, like I said, that's the plot of what happened in the season. But I actually kind of want to talk about some of its themes and representation and blah, 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 blah. Because as I was watching it, actually, hold on, I need a drink real quick. I'm not sponsored by Fanta. We just had some in the house and I was thirsty. I was like, fuck it, I want some Fanta. I want to go Nadeko by Nadeko. So the order that she takes them out is flirty, wrathful. I have God Nadeko next, and that's, from a certain point of view, that's true, because she takes care of the God Nadeko, and then the meek Nadeko. But there's also like there's the Meek Nadeko, but then there's all the Meek Nadeko copies, which are actually, when are those taken out? Because there's the one that's only wearing bloomers, which they refer to as Loomers Nadeko, who I believe was crushed by the bookcase, which happened before God Nadeko. But I'm just gonna go God, the copies, and like Meek Nadeko, and then Meek Nadeko, final Nadeko. Okay. So starting with Flirty Nadeko, their confrontation happens at the school that Nadeko is supposed to be going to. And I do think that's kind of significant. Her whole thing is being being assertive, being more outgoing and confident. She's just able to talk to people. She's able to make friends. And it gave me that sense that, like, yeah, she represents what Nadeko was never, in a lot of different ways. These all represent different versions of her, and not just, this is someone I used to be, but I think they represent her and the parts of her life that, like, she's missing or is, like, fucked up, different regrets, and also, at least somewhat, represent her as a creator. The flirty side, being at the school and having a lot of friends, is representing something that she is missing. The fact that she doesn't have a lot of friends. The fact that she's unable to make connections. The fact that she doesn't even feel comfortable going into the school at all. And I feel like, as a creator, I can see it in a couple different ways. Like, on the one hand, it represents the kind of creator who can draw a crowd, who can work a room, someone who's really popular, has crowds of people coming up to them, and is just owning every second of it. On the other hand, I kind of also see it as, it's a creator who's happy with the small success that they have. Like, someone who's like, look, I like, let's say writing, or let's say drawing, because she's a mangaka. I'm someone who loves creating a story, coming up with it, drawing it, and maybe just sharing it with my friends and family, my small circle of friends, and that's enough for me. Because the thing that she, like, imparts to Nadeko, and her question for her is, if you were, the only reason you're pursuing your dreams is because you're not happy. A person who is happy, a person who is content, doesn't feel that longing for something more. Look at any Disney film. A Disney princess isn't happy where she is. That's why she has her song about the thing that she wants. And I found that kind of interesting. I guess relating it to myself personally, I'm like, huh. I mean, I'm someone who is always, like, has a goal, has an ambition. It's like, whether it's this project or this project. I have a lot of projects that I like to work on. And that idea that the reason you're, like, goal-oriented people are as such because they're not happy. And if they were happy, they wouldn't need to keep striving. I mean, I almost feel kind of personally attacked. As someone who sounds almost kind of fucked up, but as someone who's a bit new to the happiness thing, I'm like, I can actually agree with that, at least speaking strictly from my own experiences. I'm sure there are plenty of people who are very ambitious, who are very goal-oriented, like, I want to chase my dreams, who are happy, but still have something that they strive towards. But I think that is kind of an interesting idea. It's like, yeah, if you're happy, if you're good, you don't need more. You don't have that feeling, again, that longing to complete something because you're good. I just found that kind of interesting. After that, we get Wrathful Nadeko, who she finds in Araragi's room. I guess I should specify Koyomi and not the sisters, but... And I think, again, that's a significant place to be fighting the wrathful version of herself. Because this was something that she lost out on. This was something that she was very passionate about but ultimately failed to achieve. And yes, you make an argument that's like, it made her very angry, but it's because the wrathful version of herself, like her message to Nadeko is, I'm sick and tired of trying and failing. With Araragi being something that she actively tried, like, to, gosh, that sounds like really weird and possessive, but shout out to Muso Express. You know, something she tried to win, something she tried to possess, and it didn't work. And that sense of failure. And, like, by the end, she does say, she's like, no, like, I've genuinely moved on from him. And I do believe that she's genuinely moved on from him. But it doesn't mean she doesn't have that sense of failure. And tying it back into her being a creator, of her reaching out into, like, publications, contests, putting it online, and rejection. And how frustrating that is. Like, do I really want to keep putting in the work? Do I want to keep putting in the effort? 10,000 hours. That's a lot of time. And that's just to hopefully get good enough. It doesn't mean that after the 10,000 everything's going to be okay. Like, how much longer will it take? How much more time? How much more investment in a project just for it to go nowhere? It is enough to make someone kind of angry. And yeah, like, it's, I feel like on the one hand it represents creators who have put, like, their all into a project and have seen it go nowhere and just feel that frustration. But it also represents creators who don't want to put in the work at all and are just like, why isn't this easy? And I feel like that's really what she's representing is, Nadeko, how much do you actually want to do this? Is this, like, you being a mangaka, is this another phase? Or is this something you are genuinely passionate about? Like, you doing this whole thing with your familiars, is this just bullshit to get out of doing the work because you don't actually want to put forth the effort, you just want to be successful? Because if not, it's going to take a lot of time. It's going to take blood, sweat, and tears. Do you have that in you? After that, we get God Nadeko, and her encounter is in the bookstore where, I can't say it's where she first meets Araragi because they'd known each other before, but it's where her arc starts and when we, as the viewers, meet her for the first time. And I'll be honest, God Nadeko is the one where I'm like, I can bullshit kind of what you represent, but I'm not sure. I'll be totally upfront and transparent about that. I feel like the location is significant for this Nadeko because she's the god. She's the very powerful one. She has this sense of grandiosity and this sense of, like, destiny. Like, you know, everything happens for a reason. Like, isn't it so fitting that the end of the journey is where it all started kind of shit? And in a way, I'm like, I guess as a writer, that's kind of what she represents. Like, writers who put a lot of planning into their work and aren't just like, I write by the seat of my pants, because God Nadeko was doing a lot of manipulating, a lot of, you know, setting up traps. But that's kind of also what Meek Nadeko was doing once you get to that part, so, I mean, it might be the fact that, you know, as a creator, you are the god of your world and of your work. You are the one who decides what happens. You're the one who, even though, I mean, the Death of the Elders, Birth of the Reader, they can interpret however the fuck they want. But you can be like, no, your interpretation is stupid. This is what actually happened. I mean, maybe she represents authors like an inflated sense of self, where, like, being a celebrity, which that I could actually really see, and how, you know, society, because we live in a society, but I'm sorry, I just thought, like, Joker comes out in, what, like 2 months or so? Hold up. I have a computer with me. I can actually look shit up in the middle of a video. Isn't that nutty? I really should have probably just been using my computer for notes years ago. Okay, Joker 2, when does... I'm going to say, like, October 26th. No, October 4th. But it's basically 2 months. Nah, it's more like a month and some change. Yeah, holy shit, that's actually coming out really soon. Anyways, point. God Nadeko might be the fact that society often worships celebrities and, like, creators with that high status. Maybe, like I said, this is the one where I'm like, man, I really felt something with the flirty Nadeko, and then with wrathful Nadeko, and then, like, meek Nadeko in all her forms, and then, I don't know. The fight was cool. It didn't last long, but it was cool as hell. After that, I want to talk about the meek Nadeko clones. I just wrote it specifically as Loomer's Nadeko, but also there's the ones in the swimsuit too. And how they have this passive ability that lets people just ignore her existence. Because, like, they're in the bookstore. She's like, why isn't anyone else in the bookstore? And then Orange Mint tells her, like, oh, well, it's because they're passive. And because there's so many of them, essentially the bookstore is just cut off from reality. Like, people don't even realize it's here right now. And from that perspective, I'm like, okay, I guess that's maybe representative of reclusive artists. And also the fact that Nadeko herself was a very reclusive person who, as said earlier with the flirty one, doesn't have a lot of friends, doesn't have a lot of connections. And so she feels like people ignore her, which translates to, like, okay, now people actively fucking do. There's also the fact that them walking around almost entirely naked, and from a creator standpoint, is that's kind of how it feels when you give somebody your work. And as said earlier, with Wrathful, you are putting your blood, sweat, and tears. You are putting your being, you're putting your soul into this. Hopefully it's not just, like, dispassionate schlock. And you are completely exposed. And that's how that feels. And it's something you just kind of have to bear with. It's something you just have to become comfortable with. And again, like, I found that really fucking interesting. Then we get actually to meek Nadeko, the one who has been kind of masterminding a lot of the shit that's been going on. It's like all the other Nadekos felt like they were taking advantage of her, not realizing that she was taking advantage of them. And her location is at the high school, at Araragi's old school. And with this one, why this location felt very significant to me it represents where an artist's passion and inspiration come, like the source of a passion or inspiration, maybe in general or from a project. Because her whole thing is like, no, I loved him. I still love him. And the fact that you're able to move on and let him go just doesn't sit right with me. With this genuinely, I think, really beautiful scene when current Nadeko is able to tell her, it's like, I promise you, I will love somebody again. I promise you, I will feel like this again. I want to. But I have moved on from him. And yeah, I feel like, again, it's like an artist looking over, revisiting, like, why a project meant something to them. Whether it's a project they're still working on, maybe it is a project that they had to abandon for whatever reason. Maybe they kind of lost the spark. Maybe the audience didn't care for it. Maybe the editors didn't care for it. But something where they're like, I remember where the idea came from. I remember why it meant so much to me. And I don't feel comfortable letting it go. But also realizing it's okay to let this one go, and I will feel this passion again. I will feel this passion for another project, because when you're a creator, you can't turn that off. It might be... Yeah, earlier today, I was talking to Clay, because I was listening to music, and one of the songs that came up was Jack's Lament. or from The Nightmare Before Christmas, and he asked me, he's like, "What's your favorite song from The Nightmare Before Christmas?" I was like, "It's this one, like no question." And I love the songs from Nightmare Before Christmas. The fact that I can say genuinely no bullshit that it's not Oogie's song kind of hurts my soul a little bit with how much I love it, or not saying this is Halloween with how much I love it. It's no question Jack's Lament, because I've experienced that. To me, it's basically a very condensed version of Kiki's Delivery Service, where it's about burnout, about feeling passion for something that you love, and after a while it's just drained and eroded. You don't feel it anymore, and you're waiting for something to put that spark back in you. And I feel like that's kind of what Miki Nadeko represents. When you had that spark, and the spark is gone, and you're lamenting the fact that it's gone, and you've had to move past it. But as Nadeko says to her, like, I promise you I will love again. I promise you that spark will come back. It might not be immediate. It might be gone for a bit. But it will come back. Then, we get to our final Nadeko, Sengoku Nadeko. And just thematically, like, what her thing about everything. Let me drink some Fanto real quick, and then try saying that again. Oh. Her story is about seeing, appreciating her growth as a person. The person that she used to be. And like I said earlier, I'm no longer that person, any of them, but I'm kind of all of them at the same time, because they are important aspects of me. Her story, I wrote a lot of different shit. It's about how people change and grow. Her story is about how the things, and maybe even the people that once meant everything to you when you were younger, don't always stay with you. But even so, your past isn't something to just be discarded. It is something to learn from. Something to appreciate and learn from. And that you use your past to build your future. I did use Broken Road as a metaphor earlier. The ones that I wrote are, shout out to Totano, because I fucking loved it, but life is not a staircase. It is not something that you just keep climbing and saying, like, you know, I don't have to look at the stairs behind me. You kind of have to look at the other stairs to really appreciate how far you've climbed. There's this Friendship is Magic parody series called the Mentally Advanced series. There is a spin-off of the Mentally Advanced called Rainbow Dash Presents, which is about that version of Rainbow Dash reading Friendship is Magic fan fiction, which kind of devolves into a Mentally Advanced episode. Possibly my favorite of all of these is Bittersweet. The way Bittersweet ends is there's a point in the episode where this one girl is trying to play Jenga with people, and she's like, I don't know, it's, you know, life's like Jenga. That's why we should play it. It's great. Please be my friends. And at the end of the episode, Rainbow Dash, despite being the like stupidest character in this universe, gives a quote I find actually kind of insightful and is stuck with me for several years. It's that life actually is kind of like a Jenga tower. You use the pieces of the past. I don't know if I'm actually getting it like word for word, but you use the pieces of the past to build your tower higher. And when it eventually collapses, because there are gonna be times when you collapse, there's gonna be times when everything goes to shit, you just rebuild the tower. Because it's what you have to do. You rebuild it, and a piece of your past goes on top, and you are constantly growing from who you used to be. That's what Nadeko's arc is. She's a fucking Jenga tower. And I feel like the purpose of the scene with Oikura, because she's back in the arc, is, I guess in a way, kind of going back to Wrathful Nadeko, because I believe that was the same episode. I could be wrong. It's about failure and about losses. You know, a phrase you hear a lot when someone loses, and you're like, you took the L, hold this L, etc., because an L is a loss. Something I remember from a few years ago when I was really trying to get into fighting games, like, no. An L is not a loss, an L is a lesson. There is always something to learn from your losses and from your failures. And that's what the Oikura scene is. That's kind of also what this arc is all about. What have you learned from those failures? From being cursed, from not getting the guy you really wanted, from losing your god powers. And I genuinely feel like Nadeko as a character has grown a lot and has learned a lot. So all that being said, now I just want to go down the list of neat things that I wanted to shout out. First off, there is in the background, or excuse me, like during the background music, that was a fucking weird way to say it. There are some background tracks that really stuck out to me. Because I noticed, I'm like, that's Renai Circulation, that's Muso Express. And it's during the Okuda scene, there's this version of Circulation where it's just like someone whistling. And it was so pleasant. Like, I've tried to find it a couple times. Like, I have no idea what it's called. Like, okay, Renai Circulation whistle? Monogatari often monster season BGM, Renai Circulation whistle. Like, I've tried a few different ways. I haven't been able to find it, but I've absolutely loved that track. And as a Nadeko fan, hearing her two previous openings a few times in the background, again, showing how much she's grown, I thought was really cool. Like I said, Oikura does come back for one scene. I found it a very memorable scene. She's like, yeah, I'm gonna be honest, going to college did not work out for me. That was my L that I've got to hold. We've got, it's this one, like, long scene of Ogi just absolutely shredding on his bike. I think he does the Akira drift at one point. I thought that was really fun. After Nadeko is done in the bookstore, she's like, okay, I need to find the last version of me, the, like, true meek Nadeko, who's been manipulating everyone and blah, 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 blah. I've got to find her. Then Ogi pulls up in a car and is like, hey, one left? Yeah, one left. Okay. Do you know where she is? Yeah, I know where she is. And if you're pulling up, I think you know where she is too. Take me to her. So they drive for a long time. They have, like, a long conversation. And then they stop outside Senjo Gahara's house, and Ogi just looks at her and goes like, okay, this is the place you gotta go, because you never actually killed Senjo Gahara like you said to. Go do it and, like, fulfill your destiny. She's like, Ogi, how did you get this so thoroughly wrong? You showed up with such confidence, like you knew exactly what I was gonna do. You're an idiot. It was so funny. And like I said, that scene of just Ogi on the kitty run fucking killed me, man. That was great. Orange Mint at one point gets a new outfit. She gets into a fight with God Nadeko off screen and is just in pieces, and she gets put together and it gets like a new hand made out of like sand and clay. And it just has this new fit. Like, I don't know. I kind of like the new outfit a lot. Like I said, she uses her pose look catchphrase. It's like, wow, I haven't heard that in a long time. And then immediately she's like, I haven't said this in a really long time. I don't think I missed it. And Shinobu shows up at the very end. and she does this thing, or there's like she's talking to Nadeko and is like, okay, let's try this to get her to kind of experiment with her ability without actively telling her that it's kind of like a training thing. And of course, the first thing Shinobu does, like, hey, can you just draw donuts and bring them into the world and we can try that? And it's like, yeah, I did. They tasted like shit. No, that was Nadeko draws. Like I said, I think several times, I absolutely loved this arc. I don't know if I would say it's my favorite. As some of the contenders off the top of my head, Ogi Dark, no wait, actually, what was it called? Because I think it's Shinobu Dark is the one with Hachikuji and like the darkness thing. It's Ogi's last one. I thought it was like Ogi Dark. Fuck, I actually don't remember the titles for a lot of these. The one when Hachikuji is being deleted. The Kaiki arc. Kambaru's Devil arc. I think that's Hana Monogatari. Ogi's last arc in season 3. I think those are probably my top 5, including this one. Oh no, sorry. And also like the Muso Express arc. I feel like that's probably then my top 6. I don't really know what the order is. But this was great. Looking forward to the Bon Appetit arc. I did watch the like short fairy tale episode. It was really good. I guess, but before I sign off, just a quick fun thing. So I was on Instagram a couple days ago, and as I'm scrolling through, I see this like ad, and it's like, "Hey, you want to watch Kizu Monogatari?" I'm like, "Well, yeah, Kizu's great." Oh, right, they did this like super cut because they had announced it. Like, we're gonna just like cut the movies into one movie. I mean, I think it works as a trilogy. I don't know if they needed to do that, but being able to see it in theater sounds really fun. Oh, I know, like, okay, it was supposed to be tonight. It's like, okay, I can be free tonight. This is a theater that I do like going to. I think it's like a very nice theater. Let's go. Let's make the tickets. And it turns out it was, I guess, the same brand of theater, but not the one I was thinking of because it's in a town 2 hours away. I was like, I'm gonna be honest, kind of don't want to do that. I like Kizu a lot. When I was listening to music earlier, what is it called? Like, Etoile, Etoile, Estelle, Etoile. The song in the Etoile, 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 moi. Really like that song, by the way. I was like, I don't know if I really want to do that and go 2 hours out of my way and like 2 hours to see the movie and then another 2 hours to get back home. And this is for the new Madoka Magica movie. No question. Sorry, Monogatari. But, that was the Neko draws. Really looking forward to the Bon Appetit arc.